So this is Destination Detour, the podcast that gets lost on purpose. I'm JM Romig. This is Neil Brooks.
And, in the meantime, to help keep my sanity, when I'm sitting there under street lamps in Walmart parking lots at night, I whip out the notebook and I write little stories, about the stuff that's going on. Whether it's 100% true or not is really my secret to keep. But it's great. So if I sound like a lunatic and stuff, hopefully people will be like, well, I would like to read some stuff by this lunatic.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for Wits End, which is already a completed novel that should be published and coming out at the beginning of 2015. And the one that I'm currently penning is The Owl Queen, and has something to do with what I mentioned about Alpha Centauri, but I won't say how much. I don't want to put off the normal people just yet,
Yeah. Ah, shit.
Lately I've been feeling so strange. Some people say that I'm just deranged. My priorities have been rearranged. No longer content with the script on the page. A lot of smack can be talked about, like dropouts and non-productive members of society and but it's their life, they're living it. It's your life, you're living it, and our lives are not static. We're not the same all the way through. It's like someone said something interesting about potential recently, and it made me think, like, who's the judge of when that potential should happen? It's like you might have potential to be amazing, world-recognized poet, right? And I think you have that potential, right? But that doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's going to happen when you're 30. That doesn't mean it's going to happen when you're 50. It might not happen until after you're dead, but it's still out there. It's a possibility. So who's that person that judges? Who's that one that says, like, no, you have to achieve that potential at a certain part in your life? It's like, maybe I had to go through a whole lot of life experiences to ever unlock that true potential. And you can't know that beforehand. You can't know, I'm going to have to learn these lessons and do these things before I can know who I am. Like, you just have to go out and learn that shit, go out and experience that shit, and then find out who you are in the process. And sometimes that's not always the same. Sometimes you're like, I don't like myself very much right now. And then you come back and check in like a couple weeks later and you're like, hey, ain't so bad. And then you might come back a couple of weeks later after that and be like, yeah, actually, I'm kind of awesome. Man, I'm really fucking awesome. And then you're just like, man, I can do anything. I'm fucking great. And then you fail miserably and you're just like, I suck. Oh, man. What was I thinking? But that's the way it works. It's like, that's your samsara, that's your life, that's your learning curve, that's your path.
Yeah.
Not anybody else's. And it's all of those things weaved together that make reality, make the world, make things as they are. And good or bad is just completely subjective. It really, like on the objective level, everything is awesome. On the subjective level, maybe not so awesome for you right now.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean down the road it won't be awesome for you, and maybe not so awesome for somebody else.
Yeah.
That's okay. We trade off. I have cash now, I'm going to give it to you. You have cash later, you're going to give it to somebody else. They have cash later, they're going to pass it back to me. And it's not really like karma as we typically think. It's just keeping everything going.
Yeah.
And on that note, since this is Destination Detour, I've really started to find the Buddhist thought appealing that karma is there for people who want it. Like, if you do something shitty and you, in the back of your mind, you're like, man, I've got some bad karma coming for that, you're going to get it. If you do something great and you're like, man, I deserve some good karma, you might get it. Like, if you're an asshole and did something shitty and said, I deserve good karma anyways, you might get that good karma anyways.
Yeah.
It's really just that manifestation aspect. And so, like,
You find what you're looking for, really.
a Buddha would say, if you did something and you feel like you wish you would have done it better, but you accept the fact that you could have done it better and will try to in the future, and don't try to punish yourself for it. Like, you really don't need to slap your own wrist. You can just be like, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, all right. Next time that comes up, I'm going to try to remember just to be a little nicer. I'm going to try to remember to let that slide. I'm going to try to remember to excuse trespasses against me and hope that my trespasses are also excused. To bring in the holiday season with a little bit of Christian philosophy. But it's a good way to be. It's like, I've felt bad before and realized I don't need to. It's like it doesn't help me. It actually hurts me.
Yeah.
It actually keeps me in that rut. It keeps me from learning the next lesson, moving to the next step, because I'm still stuck on the past. So hopefully that helps someone out there.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. It's like the moon.
How so?
That conversation we were having on the via text before you got here about perspective and the moon.
Oh, yeah.
And like how two people, I've been thinking about this for a while, actually. Like, two people in two different areas, two different places, can be looking at the same object, in this case the moon, and because of where they are in relation to each other and where they are in relation to everything, they see the moon differently. They see, like, I was looking at the moon a couple nights ago. It was like last night or the night before, and there was this giant ring around it, like this huge halo that was like at least 20 moons like length in diameter, or like not diameter, in radius, like just around, like the whole thing. It's huge. It was like huge span, and I was never seen anything fucking like that. And so I message him and I tell him about go look at the moon, not thinking like his perspective might be different or whatever. And he's like, yeah, mine. The moon just looks orange. He said, like, looks huge and orange.
Yeah, it was very orange that night.
Yeah, it was very huge and orange. And I'm like, that's beautiful in a whole different way. We're looking at the same object and experiencing two very different things. And experiencing the object as two very different objects. And, like, I was just like, ain't that just the human condition? Ain't that just, like, how perspective works? Like, two people, like, everyone's looking at the same thing, and because of where they are, or when they are, how they are, who they are, they see it differently.
A few nights prior to that, I had been talking to my friend in New Orleans, and we were looking at the moon that night from, like, Frenchman Street, and I'm talking about how the face, the man in the moon face, looks different to me now than it does when it was younger. It used to seem like it was staring right at me, and now it seems like it's really tilted to the side. And I'm just like, I heard on my conspiracy radio show that, the pole shift has made our perspective of the moon change. And he's just like, I always thought it looked like a rabbit. And, like, I was mind blown. I think it was before we had that conversation, and I'm just like, well, I still don't see a rabbit up there. But I trust 100% that he has always seen a rabbit.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's beautiful. And to think about it, you could have three people standing side by side all staring at the same moon in the same location. And one person could just be like, yeah, it's the fucking moon. I've seen it every single night of my life that I've ever been outdoors and looked up. Sometimes in the daytime. And then somebody, they're just unimpressed. And then somebody else could just be like, yeah, hey, that looks like a rabbit up there. That looks like a face up there. And then the other one could just be like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, just blown away by something unspeakable. Just like maybe in their head they're picturing gravitational forces that keep this thing from flying off or smashing into the planet, and they're who knows.
Yeah, maybe they took LSD before the experience.
Yeah, or maybe they just took a lot years ago, and it's still affecting them to this day.
That's the whole like perspective on things it's interesting to like, because it says nothing but it says everything, you know what I mean? Because it's something it does nothing for, like, that thought does nothing for you really in the immediate world, but to keep that in mind, like that everybody sees the moon differently, that idea that everyone sees everything through the framework and lens that they have, and we all know it's the moon. We all have that larger macro framework of it's the moon. Nobody looks at it and thinks that's a giant rubber bouncy ball. Everybody knows it's the moon and knows what it is. There's that framework that everyone's working in, but everyone sees something different even in that framework. It's something to keep in mind when talking about anything with anyone, or broaching a subject that you have such a deliberate and well thought out like opinion of. You should know that someone else is probably well thought out and has a very well thought, deliberate opinion of that thing. That is something you probably never considered, because they're a different person. They have a different framework they're working in, and like that's just an important. I think it's one of the most important lessons to remind yourself of as a human in the world,
And the moon can work as a great trigger for that. Like, it's just like, if you kind of condition yourself that every time you see the moon, the next thought that you have is about perspective. Like, I am seeing this moon through my eyes, and anyone else looking at this moon is seeing it through their eyes, and that is not guaranteed to be the same. And like just to kind of remind you of that subjectivity, like every time you see it, just like I've been really into lucid dreaming in the past. And one of the things you do is you look for a trigger. Like you wear a ring, or I heard somebody tries to stick their finger through their hand. If it stops, you're awake. If it goes through, you're dreaming. Myself, I look for tattoos because in my dream state, they're either not there or they're different. So it's like if I look and all of a sudden I have different tattoos, I'm just like, I'm not in my physical body right now. And then that's a whole trick of like, don't freak yourself out. Don't freak out. Don't panic. But yeah, same thing. It's like that trigger. It's like, find something that reminds you to be more whatever. Yeah. More lucid, more
compassionate.
Compassionate, empathetic, more awestruck by the awesomeness of the universe.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I see that band of the Milky Way up there, and I think like, oh, I'm looking at the center of the galaxy, whether I realize it or not. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And like, say a drum circle in the middle of Orlando. This is something I've been kind of thinking about. It's like, all right, somebody could be standing there and just be like, it's a bunch of hippies playing drums. And somebody else could be like, right now, we are taking all of the energy we generate and create inside of our body through moving and living and shooting it out into space like a gamma ray burst. You know? We're just blasting off through the top of our head, and anyone out there listening to the universe is like, there's a party going on in Orlando. You know?
And to them, that's as true as the hippie thing is to the guy who's walking by.
Sure.
You know? And then, like, somebody just, like, not even a foot over from the guy who's thinking cosmically could just be like his girlfriend just dumped him and he's having like the worst experience at this drum circle because now every drum sounds like his beating heart breaking, you know?
Right. While he's watching her dance around free, and he's like, she
and like
used to be mine.
Yeah. And so like that taints their experience, and that's not any less valid than, you know, her freedom.
Sure. That
she's experiencing just a few feet away from the cosmic guy and the prick who's walking by and judging everybody. So everyone's got an valid experience of that moment, and it's very different. Everybody sees the moon differently.
Like, the city exists for those that want to live in the city. The woods exist
Yeah.
for those that want to play in the woods, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. It's just hard to say right or wrong, or
Yeah,
or bad,
exactly.
or it's just a matter of time and perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like right here, right now, I'm enjoying this or I'm not. You know.
Yeah.
Right here, right now, I'm having a blast.
Yeah.
It's hard. I don't really get much internet or anything.
Yeah.
So I often feel very selfish because I'll get like an hour worth of internet and I'll be like, go through and answer all my messages. Try to get back to everybody that I can. Check some emails. Nope, still no response from the publisher. Damn it.
Yeah.
And then it's like I forget to like check my news feed.
Yeah.
Or look at what's going on in somebody else's life. And after the fact, I'm just like, I wish I would have used some of that time to really
Use social media to be social.
right and check in on people that didn't reach out to me first. You know, if
Yeah.
somebody sent me a message and I'm like responding to it, but I'm forgetting that step of like reach out, like see what they're doing, get involved in their lives. And I'm not much on like working on myself, just trying to like continually grow and experience and stuff. But it's like that's a good thing to be mindful of. Especially this time of year, reach out to people. Somebody that might be totally alienated from their family. But somebody might be just like sitting having a horrible time of year this time of year.
Yeah.
Like maybe their somebody in their family passed away this time of year, and every time this time of year they have to relive that while everybody else is having a blast. They're just like, I miss so and so, and so try to think, try to judge, try to feel like, is there somebody that needs a friendly reminder they have friends?
Exactly.
Is there somebody that needs a little like rub on the back, a little like it'll be okay, like tomorrow's a new day, next week is a new week.
Yeah, exactly.
Next year is a new year. Let's just keep always moving this thing forward and not try to dwell so much on the past. Try not to repeat it if it was something not worth repeating.
It's been calling me.
Right on. Yeah, I'm not much of like a hard, fruity candy person. I have a thing with like artificial fruit flavors and stuff. It's not like I don't want anything artificial. I eat all kinds of artificial crap.
Yeah.
It's like I eat chocolate. I'm like, if I want candy, I want chocolate. I didn't want a Jolly Rancher or
Yeah. I have an issue with like anything purple flavored. Because I don't know why. I mean, and I think it's an insult to call it grape because I love grapes. Grapes taste delicious. Purple does not. Purple does not taste good.
Yeah, like a Concord grape. Like, we grew up in kind of like America's second biggest wine country.
Exactly.
And so, like, I used to ride my bicycle and smell the Concord grapes as they were ripe. And hopefully the statute of limitations is passed on this, but I used to get off my bike and go pick grapes and just, like, eat them. And, like, there's a taste that comes off a fresh Concord grape that cannot be replicated. It doesn't come in a bottle of even 100% juice. It doesn't come anywhere but from a grape off the vine. And it's like, it's got something to do with the skin. It's like, you juice those things and you're missing it.
Yeah.
It's almost like the inside of a banana peel. It's like, it's not necessarily good, but it's part of the experience.
Yeah, and that's another thing I don't like is banana flavored things. Artificial banana doesn't taste like banana either. There's a huge component of the flavor that's completely missing. And not that any other artificial things actually taste. Artificial apple doesn't taste like apple, but I can handle that and I can taste, and it doesn't taste bad to me. Green doesn't taste bad to me. Purple and yellow, if it's not lemon, taste just gross to me.
Yeah.
Like, just the flavors they decided to substitute and tell me are grape and banana.
I'll tell you, though, I could still get down on a pouch of Big League Chew. I don't care if they call it strawberry or grape. To me, it is Big League Chew. It's its own thing. Pretty wild. I think it has something to do with surface area. They shred it, so when you put it in there, it's like you've got all this surface area for your saliva to get. You end up like drooling red down yourself. That being said, I haven't had it since I was a kid, so I might not enjoy it quite so much now.
Yeah, it might be a different experience. Be interesting to try it again for like just nostalgia purposes. Yeah, it's weird. We live in a weirdly nostalgic culture. You ever realize that? Everything's nostalgic. Like Facebook it's gotten to the point where there is an app, and I'm not even like dissing the app because I have it. But there's an app that will go through your Facebook posts and find out what post you made that day, however many years ago, just so you can share it on Facebook and go, hey, this is what I was doing that day.
Wow.
That's how we're so fucking obsessed with nostalgia. And I find it both creepy and like undeniably something that I feel like I need to analyze it because I'm not anti it. I'm obviously taking part in the culture of nostalgia, but I think there's something to be said about our generation when every movie, a lot of the big blockbuster movies that are coming out are adaptations of previous works that came out. Everything's a reboot. Everything's rehashed. Everything's a recreation of something else. Like it's a fairy tale. It's a this. It's a that. It's zombies again in a different way. Everything is reanimated. And like there's something to do like that has to do with the nostalgia thing. It has to do with like there's nothing inherently about our generation or my generation or whatever, if I'm a different one, I don't know, that is uniquely us as a generation, other than the whole concept of reinvention. Like you could go back and find the hippies in the 60s. They were the hippies. They had a different kind of thing. Now we have just neo hippies. You think about the punks. That's the 80s, like the hardcore 80s. Now we have neo punks. Everything's re-punk.
Yeah. Now we got like crusty kids, gutter punks, dirty street kids, train hoppers. It's really hard. It's pretty much all like a variety of a spectrum of counterculture.
Yeah, and it's all remixed of that same counterculture. Everything is a remix of the older.
Someone asked me the other day what the difference between emo kids and scenesters was. And I said, scenesters are emo kids that switch to a different scene.
Yeah.
Like not like it's like I really care about all those labels and stuff, but if I had to guess, I would say, well, they, I guess they were emo kids and then they found a different scene. So they called them scenesters.
Yeah, like the way I see the evolution of the emo kid to hipster thing that happened was you had the emo kids, which came out of like the 80s, 90s emo rock that was going on, and then when that started to become mainstream, people started to like mesh them because it was like a subset of the goth culture. Basically what the emo kid culture was is a subset of the goth culture at first. Yeah. And then a lot of people liked that style and they started mimicking that style, but they didn't want to be associated with all of the emotion and all of the feelings and everything, because what emo is they took all the despair of goth culture and just took away the violent aspect of it and just be kind of like it was more like it was like whiny. I mean, not to diss emo, whatever. I don't give a shit. It's not 2002. Right. Get over it.
If they're offended, they'll just cry about it.
Yeah, exactly. So you get the emo kids, and you got people mimicking that style, but they didn't want to be associated with that emotion. They wanted to be just like, I like the scene. I like whatever is cool.
I like these bands. I don't necessarily cut myself to them, but
so that's where the word scene. Even though I was really upset with this when it actually started happening and everyone started being seen. Was that because I wasn't part of anything, but I was pissed at the idea that counterculture eventually got to the point where the title of that counterculture was I'm doing it to be cool. Like, that's what scene means, is I'm doing it to be part of that scene.
Right.
Which inherently is the opposite of counterculture. Like, counterculture as anti-counterculture.
Right.
You know? At what point is our words just fucking meaningless?
Right.
And so then that eventually went into another, like a one step further into irony, which is where you get the hipster. Like, you get somebody who's honest, like scenesters are honestly following this scene and doing what's hip because they think it's hip. Right. And then what hipsters are people that wear hip things ironically.
Sure.
And so, like, it became the postmodern scenester is the hipster.
I do this because it's not cool.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really what it boiled down to. Like, fucking handlebar mustaches and tuxedo fucking shirts and the fucking most ridiculous things you could think of because it was so ironically not cool. And it was a reaction. Everything's a reaction to.
Sure. And then it became cool. So then they had to start doing something else. Yeah.
There's actually something out there called normalcore now. And, like, people are making a shitload of money wearing clothes like you and I are wearing. And, like, and during, like, for, like, photo shoots and shit. Because normal is so fucking unnormal.
Yeah, right.
That it's now a thing. And I'm like, oh
casual.
my god. Fuck.
Casual,
Fuck
which is
fashion.
not casual at all. Casual, which is, like, misplaced conversations. What is it, like, things that don't belong are casual.
Yeah.
And now we're like, no, casual's normal.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's one of those words that completely flipped meaning.
Yeah.
I blame Casual Fridays for that because that had the original meaning, which was this is something you don't you dress down.
I should go into Casual Friday with like a tutu.
Yeah.
Because
that would be following what a Casual Friday would be.
Like a pirate rag on my head and.
Because they were using it as this is something you wear different, and then people colloquially started, without thinking about, you know, like, oh well, this obviously must be what it means is a dressed down, chilled out thing, and so it became like synonymous with normal, which is the opposite of what casual means. And just like literally did the same thing. They recently added an extra definition in the dictionary because so many people use literally, figuratively, that literally means the traditional definition of literally, which means actually, you know, whatever, and then under it, basically the opposite.
Yeah.
And it's like, you broke English. We broke English. But then again, there's so many, you can't really judge that if you're really trying to analyze English. You can't really say it's good or bad, you know?
Yeah.
But it's bad. It's fucking bad. I don't like it. But then again, I follow the same trends. I say legit instead of legitimate. I say, you know, stupid shit. I hashtag shit. Like, I'm part of this stupid rehash culture too.
I wrote a little, like, I haven't put words on social media for like about 2 years. Pretty much, like, I dropped off social media for a year. I came back last year actually after I dropped out of society kind of thing again, and was like, okay, but this time around, I'm not going to bitch about anything. I'm not going to get in an argument with anybody. All I'm going to do is just post pictures of what I'm doing. And even for the first couple months, I didn't even put any words on the picture. I was like, here's a picture. And then people were like, what is this? What am I looking at? No response.
Yeah.
And then it was finally, I kind of started like adding little like, these are fossils, or, you know, like whatever. And then it just kind of built up to there. So like I had to rediscover small talk. Like non-offensive, just like, hey, I'm not trying to crap on anything you're doing. You know, like I'm just like, here's what I'm doing. And if somebody posts in like, it's like, I didn't see that.
Yeah, you didn't see it.
It's like, oh, whatever, have fun arguing with yourself.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, awesome. Happy holidays, y'all. Loving you. Be nice to each other. I know that all sounds like stereotypical, like, hippie shit. But Bill and Ted said it best.
Oh, man. Oh, but yeah, it's really cool fucking seeing you again, man.
Yeah, you as well, and thank you for letting me be on your awesome little show, dude. I
Yeah.
promise I'll start listening to it now.